Hello and welcome to the CX Files podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hillary. In this edition, I'm speaking with Stefan Osthaus. Stefan is an author, keynote speaker, and all-round expert on CX based in Dusseldorf, Germany. He's the founder and managing director of a company called experience5 that focuses on helping companies to manage CX and employee experience, or EX, together. His book, The End of Work-Life Balance, explores many of these ideas in detail, but here on the podcast, you can listen to Stefan talking about some of the most important points, such as how to define what CX really means for your business and how to plan a combined CX and EX strategy. Okay, let's go straight to the interview now then.
Okay, so I've seen in some of your journalism and writing that customer experience is quite poorly understood. When you write about this and say that executives don't really seem to understand customer experience, what do you mean by that? And how would you actually define it then?
Yeah, good question, Mark. I think what we see outside of the closer community of CX practitioners, as you mentioned, with executives and with organizations who want to embark upon a journey of customer centricity, we see a lot of prejudice and wrong assumptions about what customer experience is. I see the fear with CFOs that customer centricity means doing everything that customers want. I see the fear with executives that now we want to be friends with all customers and that we throw all commercial considerations overboard and will just do whatever it takes to a financial extreme to create magic moments or whatever executives hear and read when they deal with customer experience. So when we then approach organizations like that and start working with them, start explaining the framework of what customer experience management means, how you start with a strategy and build up on the culture of your organization, how you start building an organization around your customer experience team and create governance on how to deal with insights from your voice of the customer program, and then turn data into action in improving the customer experience, I see a huge amount of relief. I see business leaders go like, oh, I'm so happy there is methodology and there are tools. I'm so glad customer centricity doesn't mean giving the company away for free. So that is a very typical epiphany that I see with senior leaders in large organizations, where we tell them it's about turning customers into fans and not into friends. There are limits to what you do to fans, but there are hardly any limits to what you would do for your close friends. And this is the big difference between customer centricity and what you fear it would be. So usually a big amount of relief once executives understand the methodology and tools behind customer centricity, and that it rather helps prioritize things rather than in an unstructured way do whatever customers would request from us.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that sounds quite different, I suppose, from the traditional view that customer service is actually just a function or a department of the organization, because it sounds more like you're talking about a complete mindset towards customer centricity. So how do companies and executives shift their team away from, it's the responsibility of the customer service department to a completely customer-centric view?
Yeah, interesting, right? How nowadays customer centricity initiatives are very often driven out of customer support. At least that's what I see with large organizations. So to all of you in marketing who are listening out there, I think you have missed the boat, or you're at least running a big risk of having missed the boat, because a few decades ago, marketing was the keeper of the holy grail of customer focus. And nowadays, the frontline customer support organizations have taken on that role, from what I can see in large multinational organizations. So as you say, they have now understood that it's that customer experience and customer centricity is an attitude and not a department. So the cultural shift of expanding customer focus from frontline departments into everyone in the organization is like climbing a very high mountain. You better start early, and you start one step after the other. It's nothing you can change overnight, but the progress that can be made if you do this in a structured way is very impressive. I've seen large organizations as our clients and beyond who have turned from a very customer support oriented organization where, hey, let's throw all problems over the fence and customer support will fix it, into a holistic value creation minded organization that looks at front office and back office functions alike when optimizing customer experience. So it can be done, but it's quite a journey because it involves it involves culture shift, which is never easy to do and always takes time to achieve.
Is that culture shift driven largely because we're expecting all of the customer facing functions or departments to actually be working together as one? So like you mentioned, marketing, I suppose sales, things like public relations, and anything that touches the customer. And it seems as if customer support is leading all of this now.
And of course, they bring in not only the customer-facing functions in an organization, but also all of the back-office organization. I've worked with a large global pharmaceutical organization as one of our clients, and they had their customer-facing act together pretty nicely. But where the processes broke down were in finance, in some of the back-end logistics areas, and in other parts of the organization, which assumed they would have nothing to do with the customer experience. And when we shed some light into those corners of the organization, we found huge improvement potential for the customer experience, and Net Promoter Score there increased significantly when we ironed out some of the glitches behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. So that's interesting because it's quite a different, there's a big cultural change here. So is the real key to improving the customer experience through improving the employee experience? Because clearly if everybody is just sitting there saying it's not my job, then or they're watching the clock and waiting until they can go home, then clearly they're not going to be the kind of people that are creating a great CX.
I wholeheartedly believe that, Mark. I think that customer experience and employee experience are two sides of the same coin, and that has two reasons. The first one, as you mentioned, is you need the mojo of employees to improve the customer experience, so you better stand in front of them, not only saying customer, 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 now everyone gets excited and follow me down that customer path. You better stand in front of your employees and say, not only do we want to be the most customer-focused organization on the planet, we also want to be the best company to work for. And that for us is the same thing. And that's what gets employees excited. If you just do the same old, let's focus on customers, I think you don't deserve more than a big yawn from your employees. So you better focus on both sides of the same coin. The second reason why employee and customer experience should be treated as two sides of the same coin is when you workshop with your employees around how to improve the customer experience, you will come across about half of the issues that lay in the tools, methods, approaches, and approval processes you gave to the employees. So they have to jump through burning loops in order to get something improved for their customers. They have to use outdated technology with very limited view on the customer history and yet try to help the customer. They have to, for example, work in noisy environments, open space environments in contact centers where they have to try focus on what the customer tells them with bad inbound phone lines, and at the same time try to deliver a stellar customer experience to the customer on the phone line. So when you look at the root cause of many of the glitches in customer experience, you will find that they lay on what you do to your employees. And that is the second reason why you should treat CX and EX as two sides of the same coin.
Okay, that's great. And just finally then, about the implementation, because even in this conversation, we've covered subjects such as marketing, sales, improving employee experience, focusing your business around customer centricity. I mean, this is a complex endeavor. How can an organization or a manager understand all of the challenges ahead of them and actually plan some kind of road ahead?
Yeah, that is something that surprised me myself. We here at experience5 sat down with our customers and asked them, in true voice of the customer, what can we as consultants improve in helping you drive your customer experience program? And interesting enough, the best quote I heard was, Stefan, you guys are awesome in saving us whenever we come to the next pitfall and whenever the next step in our program is at hand. But it's always as if you pull a rabbit out of your cylinder and it solves the problem, but we would love to see the road at hand. So over the past 12 months, we gathered our colleagues from around the world. We're part of a group that's called the Executive Experience Consultants. And with some of the best minds on the planet in the field of customer experience, we built listen to that, we built the typical 3-year roadmap on how to roll out a customer experience program in a large multinational organization. So all of a sudden now, you would expect that existed before, but it didn't. All of a sudden now you have a blueprint. And large organizations sit down with us and say, let's look at this. Okay, so these elements we have already done. Oh my God, we forgot about these elements. Let's catch up on those really quickly. These elements will come next year, and these elements will come in the year after. So all of a sudden, after a day or so spending on that topic, an organization has their individual 3-year roadmap that tells them what budget to budget for, which resources to plan for, which pitfalls to prepare themselves for, and hence can roll out without unnecessary delay a world-class best practice-based customer and employee experience program. So we call this Map Track, and on maptrack.one, you can see an example for that, which for us is a very important new tool to help our customers predict what's coming their way.
Thanks for listening to the CX Files podcast. Please tell your friends and contacts about the podcast by sharing it using the hashtag #CXFiles. And if you can leave a comment and rating on iTunes, that would be fantastic. Thank you in advance. I'm always open to ideas and suggestions, so if you want topics explored or covered on the podcast, you can find me using @MarkHillary on Twitter. That's Hillary with 2 L's. Or just search LinkedIn for Mark Hillary and CX Files. Thank you and see you next time.